The Spy Who Loved Me.
I think this is generally considered to be Roger Moore's best.
Yeah, and I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. After a very up and down few movies where they tried to throw a lot of stuff at the screen and a lot of it hasn't worked, you get a real sense that here, the first one, I think just Cubby Broccoli on his own producing, he's just basically said, let's just do what we know works. Not playing it safe in a disappointing way. It does feel like a return to form rather than doing, taking the easy way out.
Where's Peckish? Pyramids! What a helpful chap.
This is the first time that Bond films almost feel like a Marvel movie. I know Marvel came a lot later, but this almost has a kind of factory-produced level gloss to it.
Yeah.
Huge budget. Chubby Broccoli clearly thought, I can't keep going this cheap with these Moore movies. Since On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the budgets had dropped and they were about $7 million a movie. This budget was a $13.5 million budget, so it's nearly double. It's nearly the last two films combined to put into this, because they know they need a hit. So they're going it by the numbers, but they're putting the money where it counts and it comes across on screen.
Yeah.
The Spy Who Loved Me had so many writers. Again, making it feel like a Hollywood sort of Marvel mass-produced thing. It went through countless people clearly going, not enough jokes, get a funny guy.
Yeah.
Not enough action, get someone else. And they just went through. John Landis worked on the screenplay.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
All those feathers and he still can't fly.
We played the drinking game. I won't explain the rules, but the rules will be down below.
We're now filming this 2 weeks.
2 weeks after.
Because for the second film in a row, we were so shit-faced, we could not talk about the movie.
No.
In any I mean, I know this is barely coherent, but really we were falling down drunk. And last time, it was because we got drunk before we watched the movie. This was all the movie. This was mostly the movie. This goes in top of the pops, 165 drinks. It was absolutely enormous.
Gadget. Explosion death. The thing at the climax of the movie, and this has been so often the case, it's the explosions that took this to another level. I would actually say this got to the point where you were nearly sick.
I wasn't. And I want that on record, I was not.
No.
And almost was. Would be sick. I'm gonna be sick. I can't. I can't. I gotta stand up. Oh, I was almost sick now. Well, I think the ending is pretty hellish, drinking game wise, but your point about it being the Bondiest Bond ever, you've got everything all the way through this. So you've got Bond killing people, you've got him drinking, you've got quips, you've got explosions, you've got gadgets.
He's on skis.
Skis, underwater, you've got helicopters, you've got everything. Everything in the drinking game is represented here big time.
Yeah. So don't do it.
So there's nowhere to hide with this one.
The silliest thing we did though was we got a second wind after pausing it. We felt great and then went out
for cocktails.
We went out cocktails, dressed like twats.
Oh my God.
It's the plot of You Only Live Twice, but at sea rather than in space.
Precisely. It starts exactly the same way, but this time with a submarine being swallowed by a large
tanker.
So James Bond is tasked with finding out what happened to these submarines. At the same time, his Russian counterpart, Triple X, is also sent, because Russian submarines have also been stolen, she is also sent on the same mission. Unbeknownst to her, he has actually just murdered her boyfriend. And so they have this little connection on the journey of finding out what happened to submarines, but there's also this tension when that is discovered. And behind it all is a rich billionaire called Carl Stromberg, who wants to destroy the world and start a new life under the sea called Atlantis because he likes the sea. What would you do in that room?
Get fish, wank, I don't know.
I wish to conduct my life on my own terms and in surroundings with which I can identify.
So Chubby Broccoli again pulls out all the stops here, bring back things that everybody loves. Ken Adam, we want another volcano set. We want a villain's lair to out-villain that villain's lair. It was so big and so difficult to light that secretly the cinematographer brought in Stanley Kubrick to figure out how to light it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Again, in terms of this huge budget they've given it, and they've really spent their money, this feels like a big, exciting adventure movie across the world. You know, it's only set, I think, in Europe and Africa, but it was actually filmed in 4 continents. It was filmed in Europe, Asia, Africa, and North America.
It was the opening, the ski sequences in Canada, isn't
in
it?
Canada,
or Alaska or somewhere?
Alaska, and then also you said that some of the underwater stuff was filmed in the Bahamas?
Yes, it was. The shot of the Lotus going off the jetty was apparently filmed in the Bahamas.
And they also filmed in Okinawa for a bit.
Oh.
Standing in for somewhere. So it does, but it's this thing where we're going to go where we need to go.
Yeah.
It's this great thing. Chubby made all the right choices here. I'm going to spend the money.
Bring tears to your eyes.
They're going for an epic Bond, so they bring back the same director from You Only Live Twice, Lewis Gilbert. The only person they don't get back, which would be sort of the quintessential thing, is they don't have John Barry this time. John Barry, apparently for tax reasons, couldn't come to the UK. What was he up to? So instead, we've got Marvin Hamlish. And what's interesting is the score is very different to other James Bond scores. It has a disco funk to it. Which apparently he was inspired by You Should Be Dancing by the Bee Gees. But I think he may have been given a note by Chubby or the director or someone that let's take this out of the 60s. Let's put this firmly in the 70s. Let's make this seem contemporary. And I think the score reflects that. He throws in, which isn't in a lot of James Bond movies, he throws in a lot of classical music. So you get Bach when the woman's being eaten by a shark.
It was you who betrayed me.
And I think those touches quite classy. I like it. John Barry would have written a beautiful piece of music to a woman being eaten by a shark. But here we just get some, classical music, greatest hits.
This is one of those films that just seemed like kind of everything went right. Mm-hmm. If you watch the behind-the-scenes documentary, basically it's one of the worst ones because they don't really have any particularly interesting stories to tell about the making of the movie. It seems like it all just went really, really well. Basically, the most notable anecdote from the production, as far as I can tell, is that when they were in Egypt, the crew didn't like the food.
The food was very depressing. The food was pretty diabolical, there's no question about that.
So Cubby Broccoli made them a big spaghetti meal at the end of the day. Good on him. And that apparently was the most dramatic thing that happened.
Yeah, no one's getting their legs cut off by helicopter blades or anything.
No, nobody accidentally falls in a pool with a shark.
No.
It's just they didn't like Egyptian food, so they had pasta instead.
When one is in Egypt, one should delve deeply into its treasures.
Moore is back, is Bond. The previous movie, it was a sort of the least Moore of the Moore Bonds. You kind of feel his character's written slightly joyless. And you're back on sort of, this is I guess the kind of quintessential Moore Bond.
Yeah.
He's light-hearted, he's quipping, but we've not got into sort of nonsensical, jokey territory.
Yeah.
He still is Bond, taking it seriously, but you know, doing it with a gag on the way. Everything is right, the character's written perfectly, and he just inhabits the role effortlessly. I think this is probably the one. This is arguably the high point.
Yeah, and I think maybe that comes from all the different writers, because you get all these jokes, but you also get moments of sincerity. You have a wonderful reference to his past. It's one of the few.
Yeah.
It's one of the first films that brings back the old "your wife's dead," you know, that old gag.
Many lady friends, but married only once. Wife killed.
All right, you've made your point.
Barbara Bach plays Triple X.
Why do you think she's called Triple X? Do you think the Russians are all triple a letter? Like there's a triple Y and a triple Z and a triple N.
So that means there's 26 of them and only 9 British agents.
Or do you reckon it's like there's an X, a double X, a triple X, a quadruple X? How do you think they do it?
And she was replaced. It's astonishing because, like, you know, we had Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, and so on and so forth. She had the weirdest ones because it was her, Vin Diesel, Ice Cube.
I think it's a more interesting concept than maybe you get on screen, because we've had the idea of the male equivalent of Bond. You've had like, Red Grant. He's equally capable. He's the Spectre sort of version of Bond. You've had Scaramanga again. The idea of maybe this Bond if he went down a different path. And I really like the idea of it's the female version of Bond. That sounds fantastic in your head.
Yeah.
Did they exploit it to its fullest extent in the movie? I'm not sure.
Does she have a moment to shine?
Probably not. If there's a criticism of this, is that she does kind of feel like Doctor Who's friend.
Yes.
She just turns up and kind of tags along for the ride.
The flight path. I think very quickly there is a thing where she's like, I can do what I want, I don't need you, I'm dangerous myself. Very quickly she is going, James! And holding on to his arm and is the damsel in distress.
James!
Yes, I know. Don't tell me.
James! James!
I think they have missed an opportunity just to have a couple of moments where she has an action scene or something. Good idea, not brilliantly executed. It's also in the script. I don't think it's entirely Barbara Bach's fault.
Women drivers.
Quiet!
Catherine Deneuve wanted to play Triple X, but apparently she reduced her usual fee, but it was still too much for Chubby. He wanted to keep the money down to a certain extent. He wouldn't pay over 80 grand for the actress. I think if Catherine Deneuve had played Triple X and you had a big, international star, I think it would have made it feel more like Bond's equivalent, even though it's a sort of weaker. And she is also just Catherine Deneuve's Catherine Deneuve. She's not Ringo Starr's wife.
Why don't you lie down and let me look at it?
drinks a vodka martini. She drinks straight Bacardi.
The lady will have a Bacardi on the rocks.
And I'll have a Malibu.
You like a Mississippi mud pie.
And you like a sex on the beach. The lady will have a brain hemorrhage. And the gentleman will have a screaming orgasm. Shaken, not stirred.
I'll have a Bacardi. With?
A glass?
The Russian agent drinks a cheap rum.
Yeah.
She'll have this like one of the great vodkas that glides down your
Dan
throat.
Aykroyd's vodka.
Yes, yeah.
I'm Dan Aykroyd. Since childhood, I have been fascinated with the invisible world. A world which can help us get through life if we know how to draw upon its power. A world serving positive projections, wherein you use your own personal, mental, and spiritual abilities to believe and subsequently make true the things that you want to happen for yourself. Also healing, miracles, the presences of spirits and beings once living, now gone into another life, but who continue to intrude into our waking consciousness by, for instance, haunting people or places. The implicit potential indestructibility of the soul must concern us. This is an accurate glass rendering of a human skull.
Carl Stromberg. They wanted to have Blofeld again, but because of the Thunderball rights issue, they couldn't have Spectre and they couldn't have Blofeld back. Instead, we have just some other billionaire bastard. Carl Stromberg, played by Kurt Jürgens.
I like him. He's a big,
Likeable guy.
megalomaniac, crazy person. But he's kind of a modern villain because he's sort of seeking to build a utopia and he's concerned about the environment.
Yes.
Which it's kind of amusing to think that this person who's very, very concerned about the environment is a villain. I mean, I don't agree with his methods. I don't think he should set off nuclear bombs.
No.
But I do admire his commitment to saving the oceans. He has a bit of a fish thing, which a fetish for
that's
fish.
a weird thing. He's got webbed fingers in it, which I think they've purposefully tried to not show and they've gone back on. So he's got webbed fingers that you can see in a couple of shots. That was probably, again, this thing of a Marvel script. Someone wrote in, he's a fish man.
Right. He's
And
an
he's-
aquamphibian from Stingray.
Yes, he's Kevin Costner in Waterworld. He's got gills behind the ears.
Behind his ears.
But he's got these webbed fingers and they never mention it. And it's a thing in a few shots you can see it. And I think, again, in that script, that's why he has the thing, he doesn't want to shake hands.
Ah.
But when we see it, it just looks like a joke where James Bond's just being a dick, going, I'm going to shake his hand anyway. But I think this is, again, one of these things.
Right.
Many people wrote this script, and in one version, he probably was a fish. I think my favourite villain death in any Bond film is Carl Stromberg's death at the end of this.
That's a little bit of Bond from the book creeping in, which you don't really get with Roger Moore. You get a lot with Connery. You don't really get it, but you feel like that's a bit of Bond from the book creeping in. Just a nasty, this is it. He's doing his job, and he just fairly brutally shoots a nutter in the dick.
Every person who even comes into contact with that microfilm is to be eliminated.
It's quite dry. I think it needs watering.
Jaws. One of the great iconic henchmen.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, instantly recognisable. I think if you say who are the great Bond henchmen, it's kind of a dead heat, I think, between Jaws and Oddjob.
Yeah.
It just visibly, it's so exciting. Yeah, it's just fantastic. It's all visual.
Yes.
It's brilliant visual. You know, he's a huge guy. and it's not just his size actually. His performance is good because it would be unfair to say he's a big guy with pretend teeth. I think there's something about his performance, like the way he moves. Mm-hmm. There's this sort of slow, deliberate pace to all his movements, which
a menacing look in his eyes.
You think he would be a guy who would have really flourished 50, 60 years earlier in silent movies. There's something fantastic about the way he carries himself. He doesn't say, well, he unfortunately says something in the next movie, but he doesn't say anything in this movie. It's all in the way, and his face doesn't change a great deal. There's a couple of gags, but it's all the way his posture, his body movement, the way he holds himself. And as a kid, I absolutely loved Jules. Yeah. I thought he was terrifying and brilliant, great fun. He's one of those Bond villains that you never forget. You'll always remember. And yeah, it's a fantastic. It's a sort of one of the greatest ever.
Richard Keel, whenever you see footage of him or interviews with him, he's clearly the sweetest guy in the world.
Yes.
And it shows that he was a good actor because his performance is terrifying.
Yeah, he comes across as an absolute maniac. He's kind of the Frankenstein's monster of Bond. This is a stuntman, actually. This stuntman was like 5'10", isn't he? But doesn't matter.
No.
Obviously, it's a stuntman. It's not Richard Keel in the fucking window. I mean.
We all know that Bernard Lee loves a drink.
You did.
Yeah. This is the film where clearly Chubby's gone. We need some replacements in place for when
you can see that his health is deteriorating, and visibly he's looked unhealthier over the past couple of movies. And the few scenes that he has in this, he doesn't look a well man, and you can sort of see that they're writing his replacement in. Robert Brown, who arrives and plays this admiral, a Royal Navy officer, who kind of takes on the M role to a large extent in this movie as briefing Bond.
They've got him and the Minister of Defence. They've got a second character, again, just in case.
Yeah. It's quite sad to watch, actually, because, I mean, Bernard Lee's...
And Bernard Lee's a marvellous M. He's still there, though. He's got one more movie in him. But you can see his replacements, which is just such a strange...
Like your wife bringing a lover into the house.
Yeah, as you're dying.
Yeah. Who's that? This is Robert Brown.
Joe, there's no toilet.
Let's go up the side.
I really like that the briefing that happens in this film, again, is a bigger scale. It's at a naval base up in Scotland. And there's a great bit where he's talking to, I think, the Ministry of Defence, and they're walking along, and they have a submarine going alongside. This is so much more exciting than M's office again.
Yeah.
It feels bigger, and only recently have they brought back M's office, and it's a nice nod. I've spent enough time in that room.
Yeah.
I've spent too much time in that room.
The pre-credits sequence is possibly the most famous one of them all.
What they've done so well is so often the pre-credit sequence is just another big moment that's unrelated. What they've done so well is tag on a little bit of plot. So we've got the submarine being, eaten. You've got the introduction of Triple X, and then you've got him killing her boyfriend. Just around this astonishing action sequence that doesn't need to be in the film, but completely makes the opening so thrilling.
Yeah, and all this fantastic opening has been completely ruined by Alan Partridge.
Glang, glang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang-a-lang. Glang-a-lang, lang-a-lang-a-lang. Nobody does it better. And I'm a naked woman in silhouette with a gun, spinning round. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it. Oh, bit of nipple.
Carly Simon sings the theme tune. I remember you said about Live and Let Die that was the first Bond song that had a life outside of the movie, and I think this is another one that does.
Yeah, absolutely. The title of the movie doesn't really play a prominent role in the lyrics. It doesn't feel obvious. It feels like a pop song that just happens to be the theme tune of a Bond movie, which I kind of feel is the same with Live and Let Die, where there's before that they feel very much like Bond themes. And yeah, again, more, I think, evidence of the Bond series kind of moving with the times.
The opening credits, though, trampolines.
Yeah.
Nobody does it better.
Our main locations are Egypt and Sardinia, are the two main locations, and I think they're shot beautifully.
Yeah.
Particularly Cairo. They really make sure, or just Egypt in general. We have the speed sequence of the pyramids,
Which includes the famous painting. One of the most famous sort of quirks of the movie is that they had the shot and Roger Moore wasn't available, and so they put in a painting of Roger Moore. One of the most famous Bond cars of all. I mean, it is, the whole thing itself is a gadget as well. It's two things. It's a car and it's a gadget. It's fantastic. It's got rockets that destroy helicopters. The whole thing turns into a submarine. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's it looks so different to
well, it's 70s.
Well, yeah, and yeah. So this is a Lotus Esprit. So it's again, another famous British car marquee.
Is Lotus British?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So, and it's like a new car as well. So this is 1977, the movie, and I think the Esprit came out maybe that year or the year before. So it's a new car. So again, it's sort of showcasing the cutting edge of British automobile engineering. They built something like 10 different versions because they had obviously the Esprit, the actual car, and then they had different models, and they had an actual full-size working submarine, but it's not the one that Barbara Bach and Roger Moore are ever in, because it wasn't watertight.
It was full of water.
So it's full of water. So there was a stuntman in a wetsuit
holding his breath.
Holding his breath. I'm told by the internet that it's owned by Elon Musk now, and I can only assume that means the road version that they drove around.
Astonishing though that it's been bought by a modern day Hugo Drax.
Yes.
Yeah. Such a strange end to this film that it gets away with because the film is so good. But they have their little joke about, keeping his cock up.
007 Triple X.
Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British end up, sir.
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, you're the best.
The best of the Moors, which I think is kind of the received wisdom. A genuinely good Bond film as well. Fantastic. Bond's back.
Attendance at Star Wars has been almost astronomical. Queues are still forming. In America, more money was taken at box offices in 1 week than for the prestigious Jaws.